You know what? I think it's time, considering my name, history, and experience, that we finally got down to business. That's right, we're talking about Pokemon. In particular, we're talking about a bit of Pokemon lore, which, while it tends to be a little bit weird and wobbly considering the fact that the games themselves tend to counter, deny, or flat out retcon some of the more interesting elements game to game, there's one particular piece of Pokemon history that's always been the same, and one that I find the most interesting and something I just wanted to highlight today. So let's talk about Silver, the rival of Gold and Silver, and the son of Giovanni. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, I am your ever-friendly Pokeprof, and welcome back to Fascinating Fiction. So yeah, Pokemon. While the actual story from the earlier Pokemon games would never be something that I would call developed, with it being an early game in the 90s on the original gray brick that was the Nintendo Game Boy, it's what helped shape a series that has not only gone on for 25 years at this point, but is also the #1 money-making franchise on the planet. Seriously, Mario may be Nintendo's #1 mascot, but Pokemon outdoes him 3 times over. And while some of the more recent choices that the series has taken doesn't exactly show this well, if there's one thing that Game Freak and Nintendo have always been good at, is giving us an interesting world to play around in. And that's the major thing that, if you're curious about some of the more interesting or odd aspects of the Pokemon world, is something that you're going to have to either dig deep into the games for, go read the manga, or even get information that never left Japan in the first place. Along with that, you're going to get a lot of fan theories, made-up information, and of course American-made stories that do absolutely nothing to help figure out what's going on. I'm looking at you, Pokemon Live! Getting to the main subject at hand, though, Silver is by far one of the more interesting rivals that players have had access to in the entire series of Pokemon. Which is saying something considering he's also the second one that we ever got. Unlike the friendly friends that we get in later generations like Barry, Bianca, or the X and Y crew, or even the jerk rivals that we see in Gary, Gladion, and Bede, Silver is unique in the aspect of being a rival in Pokemon thanks to the fact that, well, he's a thief. He is, to date, one of only 3 characters in the entire series that not only have stole Pokemon to call his own, but keeps it throughout the entirety of your journey throughout the region. With his ill-gotten partner by his side, Silver also has a completely different goal than any other rival in the series. He's not wanting to become champion or has some other lofty goal of betterment, and in fact carries an extreme dislike of Lance, the Pokemon League champion of those particular games. No, what he wants is a bit more cut and dry than that. To destroy the weak and to become strong. That is the driving force behind Silver, wanting nothing more than to rise himself up above everyone else. And even though such a trait could easily be called boring, when you're in a franchise that is all about how friendship is magic, how we should believe in the heart of the cards, and that the power is ours, being someone who ignores all that is actually kind of refreshing. What's more is that this is a character trait that actually stays with Silver throughout most of the game, treating pretty much everyone roughly, be it the player, gym leaders, or his main focus of hatred, Team Rocket. We actually never truly find out just why the reason he hates Team Rocket in the original game, only the fact that he considers them weak like everyone else, including the player. It's only towards the end of the game, after meeting Lance of the Elite Four and seeing us defeat Team Rocket once and for all, that he actually starts to slowly change. It's actually with the remakes of the games that we get to see a little bit more to his character and just what's going on with his hatred of the organization. Though to even see this, it requires a special event Celebi that was very limited in terms of its release. Thanks, Nintendo. The event plays out like this, where the player brings Celebi over to their shrine over in the Ilex Forest, something that has always been associated with the Pokemon. Once you do, it transports you and your gender counterpart from the games into the past, where you get to see a special scene involving your rival Silver talking to a suited man. We learn from the conversation that the two are having that Silver once believed the man to be the strongest Pokemon trainer in the world, something that has been lost thanks to the man being defeated in battle by a child of all people. This is also made worse by the fact that the man, who we quickly learn is Giovanni himself, had gathered his huge organization of trainers and thieves, and yet was still defeated very handily. Despite the former gym leader's claims that he'll be able to use such resources better in the future, Silver grows furious about the fact that Giovanni is simply acting as a tyrant among weaklings, and vows to become among the strongest without the help of others, before shoving away the player, allowing them to go through the rest of the event. It's actually not even explicitly stated here that Giovanni is Silver's father in the English version of the script, though apparently this is the case in the Japanese version, but regardless, the subtext is easy enough to understand, especially considering how these characters are talking to each other, along with Silver's eventual in-game hatred of Team Rocket. Add in the fact that in the previous remakes of the older games, Fire Red and Leaf Green, we're actually told by a post-game NPC that Giovanni-san has red hair, and it's easy to put together the pieces. The real end of this, though, and the most blatant that Game Freak has ever been with the character, was a special YouTube Pokemon series known as Pokemon Generations, focused on bringing little mini bits of the Pokemon games to animated light for the first time. One such episode is called The Legacy, and involves Silver being approached by a common character to see within the Pokemon games, Detective Looker. The short itself is actually pretty much a recreation of the Celebi event for everyone to really see for the first time, but with voice acting and animation instead of tiny chibi 2D sprites from the games. This allows us to see the breaking point of Silver from Giovanni before he moves on to becoming the rival the games show him as. Though in this particular short, we actually get to see the end of his journey as a trainer, showing the fact that he has learned compassion for his Pokemon and has learned to trust them and gain strength from them. While definitely not the most developed or complex of the Pokemon characters, with that honor, in my honest opinion, going to Lily in Sun and Moon, Silver has been one of those characters that I've found really the most interesting out of the bunch. He's always stood as a direct counterpoint to the rest of the Pokemon world, a rare character who didn't want to be a villain, but also didn't believe in the love and friendship angle Pokemon has always spouted. And while his mark on the franchise is a small one, I like to think that one day we'll get to see more of the son of Giovanni. With that, I hope you have all enjoyed another episode of Fascinating Fiction, and will hopefully look forward for more to come. Should you have any suggestions on something you'd like to see me cover, please leave a comment below, as well as liking the video and subscribing if you wish to see more content like this. It really does help us out. Be sure to also check out Getting With the Program, a more off-the-cuff show in which Kitty Cross, Ash and Sky and I go through a series that one of us are not familiar with episode by episode, and give our honest thoughts about them. I also have a Twitter and a Twitch if you wish to follow us there, where we usually will play games and just give my general thoughts about what's going on at the time. But until then, folks, stay frosty.